Hello, everybody. Good morning and happy Wednesday to you. It is April 9th, 2025. I hope you are doing well today. I hope you are full of joy. If you are not full of joy yet, we're going to bring you lots on tap for you here on an all new episode of Project Joy Live. Let's do it. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. It is April 9th, 2025. I hope you are doing well today. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and this is Project Joy Live. It's your triple shot of good vibes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this 9 a.m. Eastern Time hour. There's so much that is bringing me joy today. First of all, we had such an incredible start last night to the first part in our next mini series on Beyond 2D. Myself and Ferran Dozier, who is like my work husband. We have such a good time on the show, and I've said this before. One of my favorite people I've ever worked with as far as hosting is concerned. And we always have such great conversation. We started off the season 3 this year talking about love, and Ferran rolled his eyes through the whole conversation. All 4 episodes he was having a whole fit, and I know he's so glad it's over. But this we just started our next mini series, and we're talking about choices versus decisions. And usually, at the start of each series, we do what we did last night, which is diving into the origins of the word, the definition, myfriendthesaurus.com, all of the meanings of the word. But then we also run it through the filter of how we process each word, because we know that the dictionary can say that a word means one thing, but when we have experiences and we go through different things in our lives, we then process the words sometimes differently, in addition to the whole rabbit hole conversation of how we take on other people's definitions for words. So it was such a great start to the show. But my friends, this is why I don't do shows at night typically, because the show's at 6:00 every other Tuesday. And the show was so good and so life-giving that I was wired. I didn't get to bed until 1:30 in the morning. I laid there and I tossed and turned, and I did everything I was supposed to do. I shut the blue light off. I got my CPAP mask on. I figured the sound of Darth Vader will lull me into a sleep. Did not happen. So I tried. So I'm of course being annoying and keeping my husband. I'm like, "Hello, I love you. How are you over there?" And it was horrible, but it was so good at the same time because it was such a great start to the series. And so this is going to be a great 4 weeks. Make sure you guys check it out the second and fourth Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Ferran's time over in Cali. And so I'm excited about this series. It's going to be so, so, so good. And so that's bringing me a lot of joy today. What else is bringing me joy today? I just feel more energized today. It was a really rough last week and a half, coming down from 90s con, and then us all getting down with like a sinus thing, and it's been a fun time. But I'm here and I'm energized, and we have literally 1.5 weeks until There Will Be Hugs is released, you guys. I'm so excited about that. So you guys can check that out at the breakthroughshownetwork.com. And you can go to we have a hug squad you can be a part of to purchase the book on launch day and all that fun stuff. We have 2 story time events. If you have kiddos, grandkids, or you're just a kid at heart, you can come and listen to story time on launch day, which is happening April 19th, which is ironically And there's a little part in the book that I'm not going to get into because I will cry on air today. And so April 19th is also my grandfather's birthday, and he had a big hand in me learning to be imaginative and creative. He used to tell me this bedtime story that we would go to the park and all my favorite Sesame Street characters would be there, and they would be like pushing me in the swing and catching me going down the slide. And there's Oscar the Grouch, and there's, Elmo and Big Bird. And so the fact that it's coming out on his birthday is super meaningful to me as well. And so I can't wait for Brittany and I to share all the fun with you guys on April 19th. I am also very excited because bringing me so much joy, Miss Stacy, aka the Squirrel Wrangler, is here to help me co-host today's show. We're going to be talking about self-sabotage and finding joy. I shared something with her recently, and we both kind of were like, ooh, and I was like, ooh, you're coming on the show. And so I didn't take no for an answer. So she's here today, you guys, but we'll bring her on after we introduce today's Joyversation. Let's do it. All right, guys, Joyversation is joy meets conversation. It's a way for us to get to know each other a little bit better and find more joy in our lives by finding those commonalities. Our Joyversation question for the day is, what is your favorite room in the house and why? What is your favorite room in the house and why? Let me know. Miss Brittany's over in the comments, by the way. Good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. Miss Teresa's here. Good to see you today. See, this is why we're friends. I get too riled up at night and then I can't sleep and it's horrible. It's just not. And then I'm not a good Jessica when I don't get my sleep. Yes, we are a week and a half out. It's so exciting. So my favorite room in the house, no matter where we are, is always the kitchen. Especially now that my older kids, even the younger ones too, they love to get in there and we'll cook together. I've gotten in a habit now of when I go to make sauce, and it's sauce. It's not sauce. It's not sauce. It's sauce. Okay. When I go to make sauce, to make lasagna or pasta or whatever, I put on the, Tony Bennett or Frank Sinatra or, something like my granny used to do. So I'm like bringing the ancestors into the kitchen with me. But I love the kitchen. It's always sort of been the heart of the house, even though I will say this, as you guys may know, well, maybe you don't, but I'm going to tell you, as a large family, I have 6 children, 5 still at home. That's a lot of people. The dishes are never done. I promise you, never 100% done. It's just not going to happen. So if you come over my house for a meal, I promise you there will be at least one, probably 12 dishes that are nuts. So let me know what your favorite room of the house is. And with that, we're going to take a super quick break. And when we come back, Stacy's going to be here and she's going to chime in on the question, and we'll get into that self-sabotage and finding joy as well. So we'll be right back after this. Project Joy Live, and welcome to the show, Stacy.
Hey,
how are you this morning?
Well, you wouldn't take no for an answer, so I am awake before 9 a.m.
It's happening. It's
again.
And the people will tell you, most people, and there will be some laughter in the comments here in a moment. Most people will tell you that I like to lovingly push people right off the cliff. I just like to go, whoop, there you go. But I try to give you a parachute. I try.
Yeah, I think we've got a parachute going. I think
Good.
We've got a parachute.
Good. I'm so glad. Teresa's saying, hey, good morning. What's your thought on I know you put it in the chat as well, but what's your thought on the question? What's your favorite room in the house and why?
Oh, my bedroom with my purple bed, the
Love it.
adjustable frame, the vibration in the mattress, and my weighted blanket, and either my favorite meditation, which is called This Feeling Is You by Jessica Boston.
Mm,
Best meditation ever. Although it will put you to sleep. Or watching random YouTubes on the
yeah,
TV.
yeah. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I
that's
need
it.
a purple bed. Okay, so I need to ask what kind of mattress you have now because I've been eyeing like an adjustable mattress.
It's a purple. It's the purple
Oh, it's a
bed.
purple, like the purple. Okay.
The
Yeah, yeah.
purple beds. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
I love it. I
They're
love it.
they're amazing.
Teresa said my bedroom is my favorite place. Once I get up in the morning, I spend all day trying to get back there.
I know, right? It's a bitch to try and get back there.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Keep
really
wanting
is.
to work and things.
Love it. Brittany said my bedroom and my bathroom are my two favorite rooms. I don't like our bathroom here at this house. We're in a smaller apartment right now and I just the bathroom because we're all sharing one. If I was back to where I had two, I would like my bathroom a little more. I don't like it.
Not when you
No.
have that many people sharing the bathroom. No
Yeah.
way.
I mean, the good news is we've learned how to share like cute little kindergarteners, but it's a lot of logistics. It's a lot of how long are you gonna be? you know. So it's a fun time. It's a fun time.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes, I do. I lovingly push people right off the cliff. That's what I do. It's what I'm here for. I think it says it somewhere in my birth chart, cliff pushing, something like
Well, and I have a photo of because I was working on a mastermind and it was escape burnout, and
that.
it's a squirrel jumping from a burning building with a backpack with a parachute.
See?
So
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
It was foreshadowing. That's
It
what
is
it was.
foreshadowing for sure.
All right. So, we're going to be talking about self-sabotage and finding joy today. And this sparked from something that I was sharing with Stacy, where I talked about, I've shared with you guys on here my journey back to having a better relationship with my body and with movement in general. I've shared a lot on this show about my history, but also when we had Ask the Trainer with Sharon Saraga Walters in the gym last month, I actually told my story about the physical challenges I've been through and how I got to where I got to with my body. So you guys can go check that out in our virtual gym under the Gratisize category. You can listen to that story. But what I said to Stacy was, I set myself up to fail where the movement was concerned because I wanted to fail. And that was such a huge breakthrough for me personally, because I really just thought up until that point that I had less control than what I had and that I was just broken, period, end of story, when it came to movement. But that wasn't necessarily the case. I was just really good at setting myself up to not have to do what I subconsciously didn't want to do.
The programs rule us,
Right.
and we don't even know we have, especially when we don't know we have them.
Mm.
But even when we know we have them, the programs sometimes are so strong they rule us.
Right.
My exercise story has a similar one.
Mm.
I had a program that said I hate exercise. I couldn't even say the word 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just finished Saturday my second 90-day sprint on the 10 minutes a day on the treadmill. And today I started on my brand new treadmill, and it's like my friend asked last night, she says, "You're getting rid of your treadmill?" And because she knows my story. And I said, "Yeah, but that's because I got a new one that fits better so that I can walk on it more."
Mm.
And it still feels really surreal that I made the decision and did the thing.
Mm.
Because it's like, why did you spend money on a treadmill when you didn't like exercise? And, like, and, and it's part of my brain is saying, you are going to be on this treadmill more.
Right.
I'm like actually setting myself up to success now when the previous program was set yourself up for failure. Thank
Right.
you on
Yeah.
the congrats.
Yeah,
So
it's
yes, we set
interesting.
ourselves up for failure.
Right. Right.
I think part sometimes it's based on fear. Sometimes it's just based on plain don't lie. And the funny thing is I still don't like the word exercise, but I can at
Mhm.
least say it out of my mouth and I do it,
Right. Right.
which is an
Yeah,
interesting thing.
it is interesting because we and I've talked about this so much on the show. We're really good at just saying things. I think as humans, we love to be like, I'll be there for you. I'll, I'm gonna show up. This is a really great idea. And then we don't. And I think
Mm.
there's any number of things that gets in the way. I think a lot of times our heart is in the right place, but not
Oh, yeah.
necessarily our willingness to follow through doesn't necessarily match up with what we say we want to do. But then,
Mhm,
like you said, we have all of this history of like, we know consciously this is what we need to do for our bodies, but our
mhm.
history tells us this is not safe. This is not what we should be doing. And so we do everything we can do to set ourselves up to fail.
Well, and not even this is, not all of those things, and
Yeah.
one of the things that gets in our way sometimes is, frequently is fear.
Mm.
Like, fear of success sets us up to fail in not taking opportunities that might be amazing,
Mm.
because we get into the, "Well, what if this happens? Well, what if I'm not as good at this? Well, people don't always like me when I do this." We we will talk ourselves out of the best things that are possible for us.
Right. Right. So you're a therapist. I want to tell everybody a little bit of your. I mean, I know it's lengthy, like because I don't
Yeah.
attract anybody to the network that does not do a million things. So it's just
I'm glad I'm here.
it's a pattern. It's a pattern. But so tell everybody a little bit of your history so they understand where you're coming from, and then I have a couple of questions for you in your realm of expertise.
So, I am a clinical social worker of 25 years. I also have a degree in public health. And then in 22, I became a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, mental emotional release, which is otherwise known as timeline therapy, and hypnosis. And those things literally changed my life personally and changed drastically how I work with clients. I move them further, faster, better now. And um, I also have become obsessed with the unconscious mind and the quantum world and how we're all connected and how everything's connected. And the farther you dive into that rabbit hole, the cooler it gets, and the more people look at you strange because they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Mm.
Because it's not a level, it's not a realm of knowledge that a large swath of society talks about.
Right. Right. What's the experience been like for you? Because I feel like, I mean, you started off in therapy, but like going from that world, which I feel like is sort of by the book, and this is the way it goes to, I think NLP is interesting because it's one of those things that I feel like is sort of on the line in between the two worlds of like by the book and a little woo woo like at the same time. So what has that
Absolutely.
transition been like for you?
Well, and to be that setting yourself up for failure,
Right.
and the fear part is that what, and then there's history. So let me start with the history and then I'll go to the fear.
Right.
The funny thing is the history of NLP. Bandler and Grinder, who started NLP, modeled Fritz Perls, Milton Erickson, and Virginia Satir. Well, Virginia Satir is known as the grandmother of basically family therapy. She was
Mhm.
someone I studied in my bachelor's in social work degree. Fritz Perls is known for trauma amazing trauma work. And that's another, like, those are all like legit, you know, evidence-based things. And then
Mhm.
Milton Erickson, the grandfather of hypnotherapy. And so they took and they modeled those people to create NLP. And then timeline therapy was created out of that by Dr. Tad James, who is Dr. Matthew James' dad. And Dr. Matthew James is my Kumu, my teacher, who I learned NLP from. And then Dr. Bruce Lipton
Mm.
also has biology of belief, which connects biology and spirituality and all of the things that are connected. And there's many other people I can name, but the funny thing is EMDR was then created by Francine Shapiro,
Right.
who she created EMDR out of, guess what? NLP.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I was going to ask about because I was supposed to. I'm supposed to do. My doctor wants me to try EMDR, but it sounded so similar to, like, not the same, but like it sounded like it was pulling from other things that I had been aware of. So that makes sense now.
It absolutely does, because uh, Virginia Satir created EMDR out of NLP.
Mm.
And EMDR is evidence based and appropriate and paid for by insurance.
Mm.
NLP is not. Hypnosis is on occasion. Oh, I have lots of things. I'm holding things back here. Um, but it's like, what? You know, and I actually learned EMDR right before the pandemic. Literally, like a month before the pandemic, month before we got locked down, I took a 2 or 3 day intensive on EMDR.
Mm.
And I the practice is great, but it's very limited.
Right.
It is, if you are not careful with it, it is not safe, and it's
Interesting. Yeah.
incredibly protective or particular. Well, flash forward to 22 when I learned NLP, and I can apply NLP to all of my clients.
Right.
It moves all of my people further, faster, better, more comfortably.
Right.
But it's not necessarily evidence based. And there's a backstory to it that involves the APA and some big egos. I won't even go there, but the fear I had, so there's two fears I've lived through
Yeah.
um, in my more recent career. I realized that I wanted to do coaching because as a clinical social worker, I have all the skills to do coaching. And
Right.
when we do therapy, we get to a certain point in therapy and we actually are doing coaching with our clients.
Mm.
And I was realizing all these people are going to weekend, and, no shame to anybody who goes to get training as a life coach.
Yeah.
But if you get a 2-day weekend training and being a life coach, I will say that yeah, I've got a few more things on you education wise and experience wise.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying you can't get there, but I'm going to say I am not that.
Right.
But and so it took me a long time to feel confident saying I'm a life coach, and
Right.
I'm a life coach because I have all these other things as well.
Right.
Well, then there's this little fine line between having licenses that are for mental health
Mm.
have to protect, and having the knowledge of coaching and quantum physics and intuition and tarot cards and all of those things that aren't evidence based.
Right.
And how do you weave those together to still provide ethical therapy?
Right.
Now, I have found the balance.
Yeah.
And I can do the thing. And there's a whole, I have a whole talk actually about therapy and coaching, the differences and what's ethical on each side and how to deal with it. But it, there is a delicate balance, but a therapist can absolutely be a coach.
Right.
A coach, however, should not play in the world of of the therapy space, of the licensed clinician space.
Yeah.
It's not safe for
Right.
the client, and therefore not um always litigiously appropriate for the coach, because they could get sued. But I could get sued if people think they're getting therapy when actually they're getting
Yeah.
coaching. So, like,
Yeah.
I have to do triple duty to protect myself
Right.
when I say, "Okay, this is the thing, we're doing therapy and here's where we're at," or we're doing coaching and here's where we're at.
Right.
So, it's a fun place, but I I have seen the most amazing things with my therapy clients when I have woven in not only NLP,
Mm.
but now I have begun to weave in my own intuition, and even things like tarot cards and energy and those things.
Yeah.
I've and it was fear.
Right.
I had fear of leaning into that part because it's like, is that ethical?
Right. Right.
It's ethical as long as ethical comes down to intent. My intent
Mm.
is not to harm the person, and if it runs through the filter of, is what I'm getting ready to have come out of my mouth potentially going to harm this person? And if it
Right.
is, it needs to not, it needs to stay in the mouth.
Right. That, I know a lot of people, my husband, who was missing that filter between
Oh,
the brain and
and Jessica, you know me off camera, I'm missing that filter on the general.
but I think I love what you're saying though, because I have done some mentorship. See, I don't even like to call it coaching. I've done some mentoring in before having the shows and whatnot. And I had a client one time who started to get into some things that, sure, could I maybe have helped? Maybe. But from an ethical standpoint, it was more pushing into the therapy arena. And I
Mhm,
was like, I'm not going to be able to see you for this. So I'm going to have to refer you elsewhere.
mhm.
And it's a hard thing to do, especially for somebody that's a helper naturally, to be like, I
Yeah.
just want to help, but there is a professional line, I think, that
Well,
they're
and
in the
even
fear.
if I have the credentials,
Mhm.
but my theory is, it's like having, when you go to a strip mall and you've got two spaces that are right next to each other and their doors are right next to each other.
Right. Yeah.
Think of that with a glass wall between the two.
Mm.
And in that glass wall, there's another door. So if the client comes in through the therapy door, I can take them through the one-way door into coaching, and I can do coaching with a therapy client.
Right.
But if they come in the coaching door, I cannot take them to the therapy world, even though I have the skills, the abilities,
Right.
and the licenses. I have to then refer them. And I think it's that delicacy there, and knowing it depends on what door somebody comes in, and it as much as and including what skill sets you have. If somebody comes in my door and they want to do couples therapy on the therapy side, oh yeah, there's a side door there that goes out to other people, because Stacy, don't do that. I found
That
it out
doesn't
the
sound
hard
like
way.
a fun time to you, Stacy.
Well, it's not that it's not a fun time. I actually that's not even the worst part. It's
Yeah.
that I've done it before, and I did not feel like my skill sets fit what the client needs. And if I can't do what the client needs and it's outside of my scope of abilities, I have an ethical obligability. I have an ethical
That's a good one.
obligation. New word. We have a new word. I knew it would happen. Um, I have an ethical obligation to get them referred to someone who is more appropriate for whatever they're dealing with. And there's a couple other, there's certain diagnoses that I have never really worked with. There's also a few that I don't ever want to work with again.
Yeah.
At this point in my career, I kind of like working with certain things, and I am quite excuse me, quite fine with referring people on when they
Right.
don't fit me.
That's a great place to get to, though, I think, is just knowing yourself enough in that way to not just know what your skill sets are, but also going into like, what do I want to play in and not play in at this point in my career
Mhm.
as well. It's a great, great place to be. I want to ask you before, as we're getting close to our halfway mark here, um, as a therapist, is there, or even as a coach, we could go either direction that you want to go with this, but how can we identify some of our patterns of self-sabotage? Because I
Mm.
think everything starts with awareness for me. Like, we can't make change unless we're aware of the changes we need to make.
Yeah.
So how can we identify, like, start to go like, hey, I'm messing with my own self here.
Well, I think one thing is that I have found, and this is kind of on the energetic side even, but it's when the feels come up, when you have something and you have massive feels come up about it,
Mhm.
one way or another, those feels are your unconscious mind's way of saying, "Whoa, look at this a little further," you know? So, like, and I'll give an example that's not directly related, but is common to think about. Let's say you meet somebody and somehow the way they're acting or something, you have feels come up, big feels about that interaction with the person. And it may not be the person, it may be your programming from the time you were zero, well, from the time you were any whatever until like 7 years old,
Mhm.
because we're sponges and we take stuff in. I mean, and that could be up through in utero, and depending on your belief system and things, before birth, in a different generation or different lifetime.
Right.
And so if the feels come up major, if it's like, ooh, and sometimes it's grr, and I don't know where the grr came from.
Mm.
Like, so where did that come from?
Yeah.
That should be your first sign on anything. So, like, when you're getting ready to do something and you have a major feel about it of, I don't want to do that. I never want to do that. I don't like that.
Mm.
If you have a major set of feels come up, that's like the red flag going, your unconscious mind going, we got some stuff we need to talk to you about here.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you'll never do it. I mean, 3 years ago, when I could not say the word exercise
Mm.
without major feels, like the word couldn't even come out of my mouth. I would say other things, and I avoided it like the plague. That's when I knew I needed to deal with that thing.
Right.
Never in a million years did I think I'd be going, this treadmill's not enough for me. I think I need a different one because I want to be on it more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and 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 that one still got my brain boggled. I'm like, more? I'm doing 10 minutes a day, and that's more than I've ever done in my life. What is this more thinking?
Yeah.
You know? It's
Yeah. It was a new one.
yeah, and to tell the viewers, I'm right in the middle of that realization and that
Yeah.
whole, what that looks like. And but I knew when the big feels came up,
Mm.
um, that it's like, okay, this is something that there's something underneath it that's got to be dealt with. And so, sometimes it's you've got to go back into that programming and
Right.
find out. And sometimes you don't even know what it is. You don't have to actually be able to articulate it verbally. Because have you ever had a situation where the big feels came up and you're like, I have absolutely no memory, no clue about where that came from?
Oh, often.
So
Often, yes.
when it comes up like that, it's very likely that the thing is something before you had words.
Interesting.
Because if you don't have words to describe it,
Mm.
whatever the thing was that got the programming, that programming part comes from before you had words.
I just had a whole moment. I'm down a rabbit hole in my head right now. My mind is a little bit blown because um I mentioned that our first miniseries on Beyond 2D for this season was about love, and we talked about love. And one of the things that I have shared on shows and blogs during that series is about the way that I experience love, and it's very different from other. It's different from the way that I've heard anybody else describe it, and I can never put the words to it. Can never find the appropriate. Nothing sounds right. I have been through the thesaurus, my bestie, and I've asked people and I've heard it. I can never find the words. And so this is mind blowing for me, because maybe even some of the positive things that we experience, and if we can't, like, we can't just put our finger on it, that maybe that was formed in that time as well. It's mind
Mhm.
blowing for me. That was it.
Well, and if you think about it, if you don't have words at the time to describe the thing that's happening, yet you've got programming going into your unconscious mind because you're a sponge from the time whatever till 7 years old.
Right.
How are you going to describe something when it happened to you before you knew how to
Dude,
describe something?
I'm out. I don't even know. This is just done. I'm done. I do have to. So you're talking about like the big feelings. For me, the thing that pointed out for me that I was self-sabotaging, what is repeating the same exact thing and when I caught myself saying this always happens, that was when I
Oh
was
my
like,
God, that's a
oh
big one.
crap. I'm
Yeah.
doing this ish to
Or
myself.
why is this ish happening again?
Yes. Yes.
And that's when and the thing is sometimes we don't realize it. Sometimes we have to rely on our besties and our sisters and our moms and I say all female peoples, but it doesn't have to be, but
Right.
we have to rely on other people who are empathic and or listening
Mm.
to us to help us help reflect that thing that we're going, here we go again. Life's kicking me in the butt. Here we go again. I hate exercise.
Mhm.
We have to rely on other people helping mirror that to us so that we can see it
Right.
in hopefully a loving way.
That's the goal.
Not always. It doesn't always come at us in a
Right.
loving way. Sometimes it smacks us in the face in not so loving ways, but
Yes. Yes. Well, that's
mhm.
what I recognized that I was doing to myself, and what I was describing when I shared, that I set myself up to fail because I wanted to fail. I'd had all of this history with movement with my body that it involved really traumatic injuries, and then also witnessing that in other people as well. So then I get to this, now I've created this thing where I subconsciously know, okay, and not just know, but also I on the surface want to, have a better relationship with movement. But what I was doing was going, okay, I would get in this part where I go, all right, I really want to exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alarm for exactly 6:15, 5 days a week, for exactly 30 minutes, exactly 900 steps. And I would set this whole, Last Supper table of like, of
Detailed parameters.
all the things that I'm going to do, and they have to fit those parameters in order for them to happen. So then I would be like, here we go, we're going to do it. And the first day I would do it. The first day I would be
Mhm.
like, yes, check,
Oh
check,
yeah,
check all the boxes.
in
And then
there.
the next day I would be like, oh, I only got 856 steps instead of the 900. Yeah, we're not going to do this. This isn't working, and
I failed. Boom.
yeah.
It
Oops.
didn't.
I tried though. We put the cute little I tried ribbon on it, the nice
Uh-huh.
little gold star. I tried though. And it'd be so cute and wonderful. But I was doing that. And then time would pass and I would repeat it. And I would go,
Uh-huh.
okay, I need to do this. And I'm gonna do this, and this. First day I don't check all those boxes. I would again, oh, I tried.
Oh, you want to know the secret to breaking that one?
Well, I've broken it now. But I'll
Yes,
let you
you
tell me
have.
your secret and then I'll say what I did.
Yeah. Well, the secret to breaking that is there are 4 things in order to make any change in our life,
Mhm.
there are 4 things you have to do.
Okay.
And there's actually 5 because there's 4 requisites and there's 1 prerequisite. The
Gotcha.
prerequisite is taking responsibility for your own stuff.
Mm. Yep.
Taking responsibility for what is it you decided, you did, you whatever you know, to do it. The second one, and to me, the second one is the first one's the hardest. The second one's the most important.
Mm.
And by the way, all of this is why New Year's resolutions fail.
Yeah. We
New
don't do
Year's
that in the
resolutions,
Breakthrough Show Network, by the way, you guys. We do something else at New Year's time that doesn't involve
right?
resolution. Go ahead.
Well, which is good because because
Yeah.
New Year's resolutions don't work. But the reason they don't work is because the first thing you have to do in order to make a change is get rid of baggage, negative emotions, and limiting beliefs. If you do not get rid of the old programming and the old stuff and release it, you will never be able to run a new program because the old one is always going to come back and haunt you.
Yeah.
The third thing you have to do after you release all the stuff is then you have to create that compelling future, that goal with the strategy of how am I going to do 9,000 steps every Saturday morning at such and
Right.
such a time, right? And it has to be created as a strategy. The
Mm.
third thing is taking action. And then the fourth is maintaining focus. Well, you cannot take action and maintain focus if you didn't get rid of the is it okay to
Right.
say the word here?
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
You didn't get rid of the shit, you're not
Yeah.
gonna be able to do the others because the old program is gonna come back and rear its ugly head over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important, I think, to go through those things. And I think what I had done to break that pattern for me was when I had done some work about so that first part that you're talking about, releasing things and going like,
Mhm.
oh crap, I'm doing this to myself. Now let's figure out why and do some work around that. But then I set, instead of setting up all of these parameters of the boxes that have to be checked in order for me to not fail, I said I am going to get up in the morning and ask myself, what is the movement I need today? That was the shift that I made.
Listening to your body? What?
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 What do you
How can that
mean? And it's interesting because there's so much that I've needed to unpack about the chronic illness that I've experienced throughout my 44 years, and my relationship to my body and my movement. There's so much that I had to unpack from that. And
Mhm.
here I was in my head, still 10 years old, sitting on the doctor's table being told to just do whatever they tell you to do, which is not listening. I was never taught to listen to what does your body need? What does Jessica need? I was never taught that. I can literally go out of my house to the edge of the thing, and I live directly across from Pfizer's headquarters. So this is the area that I grew up in. Of you, when the doctor comes in, you do what they tell you to do, and that's, you take what they tell you to take. That's
Mhm.
it. Period of end of story. I was never taught to listen to my body, or to go, or to speak up and say, hey,
Uh-huh.
I don't like this medication, or I don't like how that feels. And so all of that unpacking, I've had to be continually working on so that I can move forward, because I
And
had so much ingrained in me.
there was probably baggage and negative stuff, uh, I suspect, depending on knowing that time of that healthcare of, well, you're not doing this right. Well, you're not doing this right. Well, you're the one that's wrong. We're the expert. You're not. And
Right.
all of that baggage, negative emotions, limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Those all
Yeah.
got installed in you probably before you were 7, but some
Mm.
of them later. And they cause us, and we run, and we don't realize that then we run the same program over and over. It may not look the same, and we may not be able to recognize it because we've got to do a deep dive to find it.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes we gotta intentionally go down the rabbit hole, boys and girls, so that we can.
Or chase the squirrels and cage little suckers.
Yes, that's what we need to do. So I think one of the what we'll touch on really quick before we go to break. So I think joy has been tapping into the joy that we are inevitably, which we talked about on this show, um, has been such a huge part in me, in this relationship with my body and movement and all of that, is reconnecting with the the joy that little Jessica had in movement, and in wanting to make an effort and all of that. I think it's been so important. So the joy for me in self-sabotage has been reconnecting to the joy that I found earlier, so that I'm not intentionally doing everything I can to set myself up to fail. That's been such a huge part of me for me. How does joy play a role for you in trusting yourself and leaning into your intuition and not like sabotaging
Oh,
everything you do?
wow. I I I think, I mean, when you said that, I'm like, I'm not sure if I've ever tapped into, like, pre-7-year-old Stacy, but
Mm,
maybe I do. I think what the joy for me comes in the fact that last year I accomplished 90 days in a row on that treadmill
mm,
after having had the habit of maybe getting 2 days here, 2 days there, and never more than that, and only about a handful of times.
yeah.
One of the pieces of joy that really came, though, is in January when I started it again. I had some physical things happen where I couldn't get on the treadmill from July to January. So I got back on January 4th and everybody's like, "Oh, a New Year's resolution." And I'm like, no. Mm-mm. And here's why that doesn't work, but I'm doing it anyway. The second day I was on this time felt like I had never been off of it before.
Mm,
And there was such it was the joy that comes from accomplishment and
right.
from and I'll say from intellectual accomplishment, because
Mm,
my brain thrives on that, the electricity and the synapses connecting.
right.
Like, I thrive on that as an individual. It's like, "Oh, when I can," I'm the kid that said, "Well, but why? Well, but why? Well, but why?" And when
Me.
I can know the whys,
Yeah.
and not only know them, but when I can teach them, I'm like, "Oh, that's why.
Right.
Oh, that's so cool."
Yeah.
And that's when I start realize that this 180, this this 90 that I'm gonna do next
Yeah.
is not gonna be as hard as the first 90.
Mm.
And it's funny, I almost said 180 there,
Mm.
'cause
I got that.
my first goal was 90, but really in the back of my mind, I was like, "Yeah, my goal's 90," but once that second day hit and it was easy, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we're doubling it this time."
Yeah.
So, I'm on the goal for the 180, but as I say that in my brain, it's going, "Yeah, the goal's 270."
Mm. Yeah.
Right? And, it's really, really weird because 'cause I'm 56 years old.
Mm.
I can say that I have the times in my life that I have had exercise as a value goal, a
Mm.
value, linked goal, has been this many times
Yeah.
prior to last year.
Right.
And so it's a very new life experience.
Mm.
Um, I still don't want it to take up inordinate amounts of time because I have other things to do, like learning more quantum physics. So,
And chasing the squirrels and
and
trapping them and loving them
teaching
and
people how to chase squirrels and yeah, all of the squirrel things.
I love it. Something popped into my head when you talked about like, that celebratory feeling that you had when you got to the 90 days, that joy that you experienced. And I remember you remember the book that came out, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff? It's all
Uh-huh.
small stuff. Remember that? I was thinking when it comes to celebrating, because I think celebration is such a huge part of experiencing external joy. It's imagine, okay, so let's frame it in the same way. Celebrate all the things. It's all big things. Like we talk about
Oh,
we
yeah.
talk about celebrating, like celebrate all the small things, but I think that language of saying like celebrate even the baby steps or the small things, I think
Celebrate
calling them,
all the
yeah,
things.
I think calling them small, or baby
Yeah.
steps or things like that. I'm having like a little brain shift right now. I think that might be not helping us. I think
Or
there
all
it
of
could
the
be
things that we say are small aren't small, they really are.
right.
If you think about it, what are we in the universe? We are quote unquote small,
Yeah,
but what are we compared to a grain of sand?
that's it.
And like everything is relative. And I just I'll tell you, I had a moment just now when you said don't sweat the small stuff, and it's always small stuff. One of my, how as females we have extra moms because it takes lots of them to raise us, right? And some of us more than others. I was one of those that needed a lot more than others. One of my moms, Moni, that was one of her favorite sayings, and when it comes up, I'm like, boom, she's a flash. She's right there in my head. And so I want to celebrate the joy that just gave me and tell you thank you for bringing me an attachment to one of my moms who's passed.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a lovely comment come in from a mutual friend that I just saw pop up. Jamie Rich. Jamie
Ah,
Rich is here today. Chasing squirrels and jumping to conclusions are part of my daily exercise routine. I can relate. I should be the fittest person on the face of the planet. I just want to say that.
because if you can chase those little suckers, you can chase anything.
That's it. That's what it's true. All right. So listen, guys, we're going to take a super quick break. And when we come back, we're going to finish up with birthdays and final thoughts. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home. Where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back to Project Joy Live. We're here today with Stacy, aka the Squirrel Wrangler, and we're having fun with the squirrels today. And so I appreciate you guys being here. And Jamie said he appreciates the insights from this conversation today. So thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you so
today,
much,
Jamie and Teresa and Brittany, and all of you friends that like to sit in my comments and just, you can sip your coffee, but say hello. Say hello. Let us know that you're here. We love that. So we do birthdays at the end of every show. Stacy, you ready for it?
Sure.
It's gonna be great. Here we go.
Happy birthday to you.
All right, you guys. In the world of celebrity, Lil Nas X Lil Nas X. What was that? Old Town Road. Is that the song that he did with Billy Ray Cyrus? I don't know. He's 26 today. Happy birthday, Lil Nas X. Actress Kristen Stewart is 35 years old today. You might know her from the Twilight movies, among other things. The actor Dennis Quaid is 71 today. He looks really good for 71, I feel like. I did not realize he was in his 70s. I thought he was younger than that. So happy birthday, Dennis Quaid. And every time I hear his name, all I think of is when he was on the Ellen show and they would do all these little skits with him. And he would, Ellen would be on the earpiece and he would have to go into like a busy Starbucks or something and walk in and just open the door and as loud as he can go, Dennis Quaid is here. And oh my God, that's all I hear in my head now that every time I hear his name, Dennis Quaid is here. So thank you, Dennis, for that. The celebrities in my life, Julie DeFeo has a birthday today. Miss Julie, happy birthday to you. Chelsea Fountain. Chelsea is amazing, and we connected on TikTok many years ago now. And so happy birthday to you. Linda Fish Post has a birthday today. And David Love, love you so much, have a birthday today as well. Anybody that you know that has a birthday today, Miss Stacy?
Not today, but I'm going to call out two just recently celebrated birthdays. Sure. One, somebody who's incredibly special to me is my mother-in-law. I took her to a wonderful breakfast Friday morning to celebrate her birthday. I call her my favorite mother-in-law, even though she's my only mother-in-law. But she's still my favorite. And
what's her name?
Her name is Vicky.
Vicky. Okay, got it.
Happy birthday, Vicky. Happy late birthday, Vicky. And the other is a friend of mine from high school that we didn't really, we knew each other in high school, but we didn't hang around a lot. And then later in our careers, we found out we knew all of the same people. And like, if I don't know them, she knows them and vice versa. And like, if I ever want to connect with somebody in my area, I get a hold of Teresa because she like knows everybody.
Nice. Happy birthday, Teresa. Awesome. All right, you guys, you ready to get our birthday song on? You gonna sing with me, Stacy? Stacy's like, what the hell have you gotten?
I don't know what we're singing.
We're singing happy birthday.
No,
okay, here we go.
Off the cliff. I'm ready to go.
All right, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Little Nas X, Kristen Stewart, Dennis Quaid, Julie DeFeo, Chelsea Fountain, Linda Fish Post, David Love, Vicky, and Teresa. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Happy birthday to all those that are celebrating. I hope you have an amazing celebration. Any final words that you would like to leave for our audience today, Stacy?
I'm going to go with a variation on one that I use when I have final words. And it's usually have grace with yourself. But what I'm going to say is have joy with yourself.
Love that. Yes. So perfectly on brand, Stacy. And we're very excited because very soon we're going to have a brand new show on the network. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to let it. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Pay attention, people. Go to the Breakthrough Show network.com. Check out our calendar, subscribe, keep up to date, and always check out the newness that's happening over there. And that's what I'll leave you with that. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. This is my fabulous co-host today, Miss Stacy, the Squirrel Wrangler. And we're so excited to have her part of our community in events and things like that. Check out some of her events are linked to our events, so you can check that all out on the calendar as well. And until next time, we want to remind you that you are the joy, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.